I want to hear from you real quick, okay? Do you remember a time? There's a lot of people watching right now, but there's not a lot of people commenting right now, okay? So in the chat, if you're watching live right now, I want to hear from you. Do you remember a time when you used humor on a date and a woman responded really well to it? Let me know in the chat what it was that you said. Like, what happened with that? Like, what did you say to her that made her really like laugh and she was just like all over you after that? Okay, let me know in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, drop a comment below, would you? There was a time, I'll tell you a story that I distinctly remember, because this was in my relatively early spinning plates phase. I talked about it. I talked about this gal on, I think, what, my second or third podcast episode ever. It was my Tale of Two Train Wrecks episode, and this particular chick was just an emotional mess. Right? She was just an emotional mess. She had no business being out there dating. She actually ended up crying on the date at one point. But near the end of the date, when I went to go ask for the check, she goes, "Oh, let me pay," right? And she puts her debit card on the table and she slid it forward. And I go, "No, I got it." Okay, because I personally believe that if you're asking people out on a date, like, you pay for at least the first 2 dates, but keep those initial dates low investment. Okay, drinks only. It's over after 1 or 2 drinks. It's not going to break the bank. And so she goes to slide the card over, and she goes, "No, please let me pay." And I go, "No, I got it," and I slid it back. And she goes, "No, I insist," and she slid it forward again. I go, "No, really, I got it," right? And I slid it back forward, and she goes, no, really. And she pushes it forward one time. So I put my finger on her card and I just flinged it off the table. And I go, "Waitress." And I held up my card like this. The waitress came, got my thing. That chick thought that was so funny. And she, that I just slid it off the table like a total jerk, but I did it in a very playful way. She was way into that. She really loved that I did that to her. Okay. Stuff like that, right? Being humorous and playful. Chicks like that sort of thing. And I mixed a lot of that. That's humor, that's teasing, all this kind of stuff, right? Women like that sort of thing. Tell me something that you've done here. I'll get to you guys here in a minute, give you guys a chance to do that. Another way to introduce play and be more playful on dates and your interactions with women is just really exude a relaxed energy. Okay. Play is impossible if you're uptight. Okay. If you're uptight, you're serious, you can't be playful. And if you try to be playful, it's going to come across as robotic, and it's just not going to hit the same. Okay. So stay calm, stay relaxed. Even when she tests you, especially when she tests you, it signals strength and fun. This is why agree and amplify is so powerful. Okay. I didn't quite realize how powerful agree and amplify really is until I started coaching dead bedroom clients. Okay. Guys who have been married for years often aren't that fun and playful anymore. They're very uptight. They're dealing with life now. They're dealing with kids. They're dealing with careers. They're dealing with bills and all this kind of stuff. And they've gotten to such a place of comfortability with their wives that they're not fun and playful anymore. And that's a part of the big reason why they're in a dead bedroom, right? They've let go of any semblance of game, and they've just become, the guy that pays the bills. Okay. So the guys that I coached, the ones that were able to really nail down agree and amplify. And what is agree and amplify? Agree and amplify is one method of handling women's tests. And women want to test you to see if this facade that you're putting on is real or not. And that's a part of the reason why the pickup artists couldn't keep women around, because as soon as these chicks started testing these guys, if they had spent any like length of time with these guys, these guys would fall back in old beta programming and really not show up well. Okay. They were able to handle those tests like during the pickup phase, but in long term, they couldn't do it. Okay. But you have to be able to do this sort of stuff all the time. Right. So testing is the way women test men. And one of the best ways of doing it is agree and amplify. So let's say a chick makes fun of me because I'm bald. Okay. She's like, "Wow, I didn't know you were going to be, you were so bald," or whatever, you're pretty confident for a bald guy or whatever. Okay. Any kind of jab about my baldness would be a shit test. Okay. And so I could get mad about that. Right. One way to handle it is with indifference and be like, oh, you don't like bald people. Right. But that's not as attractive as a guy who playfully plays it off. Right. Like, yeah, I'm bald, but it makes me more aerodynamic. You know what I mean? Like that signals confidence to women when you can playfully take what they say and joke, right? So I'm agreeing with her and then amplifying. It makes me more aerodynamic. That's agree and amplify. Well, the dead bedroom guys, when I would show them this, because what they were doing at this point, because they were so sick of their wife's shit, right, is when she would throw a barb or a jab at them, they would take it personally and then blow up at her and get mad. That's how you fail a test like that. And so I'd say, no. Agree with them and then amplify it. Take it to an absurd level and just make it a big joke. Okay. The guys that were quick-witted enough to do that were out of a dead bedroom within 2 weeks of the program. Okay. Some of these guys haven't had sex with their wives in months. 2 weeks. They turned it around because they stopped being so serious and started being fun and playful. Okay. So that playfulness really does exude a relaxed energy that makes women feel more safe and secure. Makes them feel more playful. It makes them feel more connected to you when you two have these inner jokes amongst each other. Okay. You're creating this reality where only two of you exist for her. That's where she wants to be. Feels over reels, guys. When you're out dating, a great way to stay less serious and more playful is to spin plates. Okay. Date multiple women. Okay. And I can't stress this enough. And a lot of guys are like, I'm having too hard of a time getting one woman. How am I going to spin plates and get multiple women? I break that down. How to do that in this book. All right. I talk about it in my dating course. There's ways where you're just starting out where you can signal to the women that you're with that you might be dating multiple women. Okay. And when you do that, the thing is, when you do date multiple women, pre-selection kicks in. A woman likes guys who other women like. So if she in her mind thinks that you're dating multiple women, that you have multiple options, that actually makes you more attractive to her because it's a mental shortcut for women. They're trying to get to know you to see if you're a good guy or not. And if other women like you, to her, like her subconscious brain, oh, well, he must be a good guy then if other women like him. Okay. So this is how pre-selection works. So when you're spinning more plates, a part of that, women can sort of sense this sort of thing because you're not needy, right? You don't need her validation. You don't need to text her all the time. You're a busy guy. You see lots of girls, right? So all these types of things signal to her that you might have other options just because of the way you show up, right? You're more playful, you're more relaxed. When you can communicate well with women and you're funny and you're joking and you do the agree and amplify and you do all this kind of stuff, that tells her that you're good with women. Okay. If you're really good with her, she's going to naturally assume you must be good with other women too. Okay. There's all these little things that women just pick up subtext really well. Okay. So if you act this way all the time with all women, you will eventually get more dates. You'll eventually start spinning plates and then you actually will be dating multiple women. Okay. But you have to start somewhere and that's how you start. You start sort of acting as if you already have them. Okay. But all that kind of stuff, it keeps things fun, playful, non-needy, removes pressure from any single interaction. Because if you're coming across as needy, validation seeking, you're really pushing for something to happen because you have that attachment to outcome, that creates a lot of pressure on women. And they don't handle it well, right? They're like, this guy's really putting a lot of pressure on me. This removes all the pressure because, hey, oh, you're not available? Cool. All right. I'm going to go see Susan tomorrow. You don't have to tell her that, but But if you act like you don't really care that she's not available, that signals to her, like, why doesn't he care? Oh, he must be seeing other women, right? This is how women. By the way, guys, if you're getting any value out of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. That helps support the show, probably more than anything else. And speaking of chats, there's guys here they're now sounding off here. Okay. Phil Bradley says, hoorah. What's up, Double Dog? Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, happy hump day, gentlemen. Nurse Chick always gets this.
So naughty.
Yes. I'm going to come.
And I will. You don't worry about that. Kamal says, this is a great topic, something we need to remind ourselves regularly. Yeah, thank you, man.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.